So we are live on YouTube, and let's go up this workboard. And
Call the meeting to order. Let the record show we have Mary Ann Naisland and myself, and Dave Shepard is on Zoom, so we do have a quorum. And Cameron, our student rep, she has practice, so she will not be here tonight. And this is, so everybody knows, this is the rescheduled meeting from the 22nd that we had to cancel and move because we did not have a quorum that day. So let's go ahead and do flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes, additions?
No changes, no additions.
Okay. The first thing we do is public comment, but before we do that, there are a couple of things we wanted to touch on. Anyone that's on social media has seen a lot of stuff on there lately about the bond, and there's a lot of misinformation out there about the bond. So we kind of looked at some of the stuff that was, most commented on and wanted to just kind of give you the actual facts instead of just the facts that you see people come up with. One of the issues is impact fees. And I'm going to read this. It's not necessarily, I haven't read it all typed like in the best way to be read, but impact fees, it's been suggested that we are missing out on tens of millions of dollars from this program. That is not the case, and we have worked hard to get them up above 14,000, right? If this says 14 million.
14,000.
14 million would be wonderful, but I don't think we're gonna get that much. That 14,000 went into effect in January of 2023. Prior to that, we collected a little under $3,000 per permit, so it's $2,996. One of the big challenges was the developers came in and one purchased 151 permits at the lower cost once it became known that we were gonna raise the fee. So they came in and bought a bunch of them at the lower cost, so they didn't have to pay the higher cost. We are in the initial process of renewing our plan for 2024 to 2029, and we can't build a school alone on impact fees. Say it again, you cannot build a school alone on impact fees. You just can't. It can't be done. It's illegal, and you don't collect enough money to do that. If we got 14 million per house, we could, but we don't. We have what has been collected and spent since 2019 on the bond website under frequently asked questions. The property that we're buying, the 49 acres, we're using impact fees to pay for that. You can use impact fees to pay for that, okay? The levy is not the same as a bond. It was suggested by Mr. Heckathorn, I'm saying that right, in the voters pamphlet that we should consider doing a couple of 6-year capital levies to build a school. He lives in Mill Creek, and in the Everett district, you can build an elementary school with levy because of their size. It would cause a significant hardship for our citizens and tax base to follow his logic. He writes opposition statements for districts all over the state. Districts he has no idea, he's never been here, he's never talked to anyone here, he doesn't know. His numbers are wrong, he's just trying to cause fear in people. And it is interesting that levies are 50% to pass and bonds require 60%. And that's something that everybody needs to keep in mind too. I've seen a lot of mismanagement of funds comments. I always ask, can you give me a specific example of a mismanagement of funds? And I never get a response to that because no one really has one. It's kind of, there's never any facts or information to back it up. If there's a situation where funding or equipment is being mismanaged, call the auditor, call the district office. When you post generic situations on social media or incomplete half-truths about the properties the district tried to purchase, for a new transportation facility where one former board member accuses another former board member of mismanaging funds is not accurate, and it doesn't help anything. We're trying to set a good example for our kids, and that is not it. Let's see what else we can touch on real quick. Why didn't we plan for the growth? That's another big one that we see. It's not realistic to set aside $1 million per year for 30 to 40 years to build a new school. You can't take out a loan for new construction in addition to having low borrowing capacity. You add portables, and in our case, portable bathrooms as well, until the long-term solution, such as building a school by passing a construction bond, happens. The recent Washington State Supreme Court case, Wahkiakum versus State of Washington, found that building schools is a shared responsibility between the state of Washington and the community taxpayers. The state matches portions of the bond with SCAP, school construction assistance money, and the taxpayers pay the rest. There's a good reason to believe that the matching money will go up from $238 to about $400 per square foot. And currently, they only match instructional space, not stairs, open spaces, hallways, portables. And we met with one of the senators when we were there, and he made it known that they're not going to give us more money. So we have to kind of do what we need to do. There's a couple others. Mining zone. No, it's not in the mining zone. The bond's not going to go to teacher administrator pay. That's not legal. It won't happen. We're audited every single year. We don't have issues. So saying that we do, it just doesn't make any sense, and it just tries to, build fear in people. And it's not a school for all the new residents, because that's a big one, because it's just where it's going to be. It's a school for all of our kids. Okay. Open, let's see, we have public comment. First on here is Steve Hall.
Thank you for that, by the way, Gigi.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
Okay. I think a lot of
We have a
those,
podium right up here, sir.
Actually, my voice is loud.
And actually, before you start, I forgot, I need to read our public comment script real quick. I'll try to be as fast as I can. Our board has adopted policy and procedure 1400 and 1400P, meeting conduct. It's available on the district website if you'd like to read it. By adopting this policy, board meetings must be conducted in a civil, orderly, and business-like manner. This means that whether we are school directors, district staff, students, members of the community, or some other guest, we must all follow this same standard of civility during board meetings. Generally, the first item of business at every regular meeting is public comment, which is something we value. That is an opportunity for visitors to be recognized and make brief comments. We have the sign-in sheet. You already got that. Total time for comments is 3 minutes per person, maximum of 30 minutes in total. There's no mechanism by where a speaker can pass their time on to another speaker, and no individual may speak more than once, even if there's time remaining. Public comment period is an opportunity for the board to listen to individuals on educational issues, and board members are encouraged to listen attentively. 3 minutes per person. Oh. Is it still in the decor? So however, public comment period is not a time for dialogue between the board and the public. The board will not respond to statements, questions, or challenges made during public comment period, and there will be no back and forth dialogue. Please know that the board's silence is neutral. It's neither a signal of agreement nor disagreement with the speaker's remarks. Although the board will not engage in dialogue, the board chair might ask a speaker for clarifying questions, and it's also possible that the district staff will follow up with you later. Also, there is no back and forth during the meeting. If you have questions during the meeting, you need to hold those, because there will be no back and forth during the meeting. Finally, please remember that your words have impact, and you, not the school district, are responsible for your words. We caution all speakers that it is possible that your statements could violate the rights of others under various laws, including laws protecting privacy and laws prohibiting defamation. If you are unsure of the legal effect of your remarks, you should seek independent legal advice. In any case, we ask that you help us model for our students what a respectful and inclusive community looks like. And that's it, and now it's you, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
And so I have a feature, I can put the timer up on the screen, so.
No, I think most of those comments that she was going over are probably from me. I've been very vocal in my non-support of the school.
Let me, before you start, and you give me a couple extra seconds, that is our script that we do every meeting. So it's not just for you.
I know, but I'm just saying,
Go ahead.
a lot of those comments were probably mine, and I don't deny it. I've been accused of lying and of posting false things twice now by Gigi, and I didn't appreciate that. But anyways, from there on, there are a lot of issues that I have, but one of the main ones I'd probably like to bring up tonight is that when the bus barn was being considered, there was a site up by the Chevron that was an existing building, had existing bays for working on vehicles, had the air, water, electricity, everything they needed, has a large parking lot for the buses. That was offered for $700,000, I think it was. And one of the board members said, no, we don't want to pay any more than $600,000 for that. So eventually that offer, they lost it. Next thing that came up was Werner Paddle, which is on the highway, next to Keening's. And that was up for, I think, $1.2 million. And at that point, it was stated that, no, we only want to pay $1 million for it. That wasn't as good of a site because, I better get going here. Anyways, he ended up buying something from the city. We got a building from Oregon that was a kit that had not been purchased by another company. It was put up, the cost, from my understanding, was about $6 million. And so we went from $700,000 to $6 million, which is about $5.3 million difference. To me, that is gross mismanagement of money. We were lied to with the last levy, and a lot of the people from Salton said that this levy was for the bus garage, which the bus garage, school district had enough money, minus $200,000 to pay for the bus garage. So why would we need to get a $30,000 levy to pay for the bus garage? If the property would have been brought in the first place, it would have been fine. Now, as far as overcrowding, there's only 46 more kids in the district versus 2015. There's actually 5 less this year than there were last year. So I'm having a hard time seeing where this overcrowding is coming
All
from.
right, your 3 minutes is up, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Anybody out there that agrees with me, I have some 4x8 signs that.
You can have a seat, thank you.
I am.
Thank you.
That I need to post.
Our next speaker is
I'll get you on.
Jeff. You ready?
Sure.
You're always very good at timing yourself with your 3 minutes.
I'm a little tired today. Greetings and thank you to the school board and administration for allowing me to publicly comment tonight. I'm Jeff Estes and I reside up in Startup. There's still attendance concerns here in our district and I'd be happy to help with that part-time. I mentioned a curriculum before and believe it's partly to blame for gaps in education and below standard test results. Kids need to learn how to sound out words, not just shown pictures. Kids can't be expected to excel in geometry, algebra, and calculus if they're struggling with multiplication, division, fractions, and basic math. Speaking of division, next month there's a mandatory training for certified staff. Rather than learning to categorize, how about we get some additional mental health training? Let's improve and clear up this misinformation. This bond flyer that went out It's really nice and pretty, but I was looking on this and here, and it's got 4 years. And I thought, okay, well, they've got to have some additional information on here somewhere. But it only shows 4 years of taxes, and someone out in the public could think, well, there's only 4 years to pay off this bond, that's a great deal. To encourage voters out there, I do have some suggestions. If you guys could maybe even make a motion and put this in writing. Make sure the public knows the effective bond costs to the taxpayer. It's actually more than 80 million, because that number doesn't include the interest and the fees, of course. How about the school district do everything possible to obtain the lowest interest rate? Any timber harvest revenues from the new school site property, can those be used to offset the proposed school bond construction costs and reduce the bond burden? And if so, provide that data to the public. Any new or pending school impact fees from development, can those be used to offset the proposed school bond construction costs and reduce the bond burden? If so, let's provide that data to the public. Immediately when there's affirmation that the state matching SCAP funds have increased, both by square footage coverage and amount per square foot, apply or decrease to, offset that school bond construction cost and reduce the bond burden. And again, provide that data to the public. Communicate in a clear, open, honest, and transparent method the savings to the taxpayers as these opportunities develop. And please provide that data to the public. Thank you.
And the questions you had, and the comments, we will answer those for you within 72 hours.
Thank you.
Let's see. Katie Butler.
I apologize. If I said yes, I meant to say no.
If it's on here, you have to talk now.
How's everybody doing? I apologize.
I'm probably gonna say this wrong. Sarissa Dearborn?
That's me, but everything that I had has already been addressed or said, so.
Okay. I think that is all that's on here. Richard, you got here a little late. Did you want to speak, even though you're not on the sheet? Okay. That is everyone then. All right. We have approval of our minutes and our personal action report.
Would you like an approval of the consent agenda?
Yes, please.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. All right, that is good. So, we have VOA Sultan Prevention Coalition regarding the Teen Night Safe Stop.
So we have Lindsay on.
Hi, Lindsay.
Zoom here.
Hi, everyone.
You are free to go ahead.
Great. And we have my colleague Abby Thompson, who should also be there. If we could tag team this, unfortunately, I can't be there in person, so I really thank you
Do you
all
wanna
for
come up?
having this virtual option.
Yeah.
Kayla, did you get my PowerPoint, or can I screen share?
Yes, so I have it pulled up, actually, I'll just adjust this mic. Okay, so I have it pulled up, it's on slide 1, so if you want me to advance, you can just say next slide.
Okay,
Does that help?
sounds good.
Okay.
So it's up on the screen, I just can't see it on Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yes.
Okay, all right, we'll roll with it. Okay. All right, well, again, thank you everyone for giving us time on the agenda tonight. I'm Lindsay Gagnon. I'm the Executive Director for Volunteers of America's Community Resource Centers in Arlington, Lake Stevens, and out here in Sultan, our Sky Valley campus. And Abby is there tonight. She's our Youth Program Coordinator for our Sky Valley Youth Coalition. So next slide. So just really quickly, for some folks that might not know what Volunteers of America or VOA does out in Sultan, we have a large campus where we have just a multitude of services, from preschool to a senior center to a food bank, one-stop shop resource center, after-school program for teens, and we also get to share our space with the Sultan Boys and Girls Club. So lots going on for the community, and that's our website right there. And the next slide. Sorry, I'm always thinking like I can see it. Anyway, our Sky Valley Youth Coalition is kind of just where I wanted to start tonight because that's our program that really wants to bring Safe Stop back to this community. So our Sky Valley Youth Coalition was launched in 2017, really out of a need for additional space for after school for teens and for youth that just need a safe and healthy place to go. We again host a safe place after school or when school's not in session. We provide food, service opportunities, connections to supportive adults, post-secondary education, and just employment pathways to help youth just be their best selves. We really aim to keep youth above the influence, free from self-harm, from suicide, and resilient to bullying. So if you don't know about the SBYC, their Facebook page is a really, really great place to learn more. Recently we started teen nights. So next slide, Kayla. So we started teen nights really after hearing, or at least for me, after hearing the amazing things that Safe Stop provided to the community. And so when I joined VOA in November of 2018, I had heard about this great program, but we just didn't have funding to launch it back up again. And so it took us a few years, but last year we secured some funding from Snohomish County to launch a similar version called Teen Nights. And so they're every Friday from 6 to 9 at our temporary location right now, which is right connected to the Sultan Thrift Store downtown. And so we secured funding right now through 6/30/2024 with a really high likelihood for this to continue to get funding. And so really after Abby and I have explored some conversations with some school district staff, like student support advocates, those amazing folks, and then just hearing from other community members, we really want to partner with the school district to relaunch this, if you will, to kind of more back to how it was, how it started. So Abby, do you want to just speak to Safe Stop for those that might not know about it?
Sure. So if you're not familiar with Safe Stop was a program kind of ran in Sultan. So they ran it out of the middle school in Sultan and the elementary school in Gold Bar. And really it was just an open place for kids to come and hang out with their friends and be around positive peers and positive role models in the community. They had a lot of support, like I believe they had the fire department, the police department. It was really just a great place for kids to be. Right now, our teen center is pretty small. For those of you who don't know and haven't ever been in there, we're really looking for a larger space where the kids will feel safer coming to, somewhere where they're already used to showing up, in hopes to bring in a bigger influx of kids. So.
Yes, thank you so much, Abby. Kayla, next slide. So we come to you really with kind of two needs. So first and foremost being location. So as Abby was talking about, Safe Stop I think really excelled because it was at the schools. It was a familiar place, a safe place that folks just trust, right? And so we're really looking that we can partner with the school district again to have this place like be there. So if whether it makes more sense to be at the middle school or the high school, we'd really like to partner with the school district on that for location. And as well, just helping us promote it. Word of mouth is big in this community, and I think everyone in the room would know that we've gotten many new families in the last few years. And so just help promoting this program and getting the word out that this is a free thing for teens to go to, or teens and youth to go to in Sultan, where they can meet other youth, they can stick with healthy habits, and just stay safe, right? And so what we will do as VOA is we'll provide the staffing with the funding that we have, and which we'll continue to go explore is to make sure that it's properly staffed. One thing I did hear from some research on how Safe Stop was operated is that there wasn't that funding support to have a dedicated staff person there. It's a huge volunteer commitment. And so that's another thing that we'd be taking on is working with community members like the amazing Community Alliance with the student support advocates and their networks to really build that volunteer base to help in addition to staffing. A lot of folks, a lot of teens used to come to Safe Stop, so we're using that experience to kind of just make sure it's properly staffed, right? Our volunteer recruitment process looks like every single adult going through a background check as well, which BOA takes the responsibility of as well. We also have the support to also provide food and snacks. Again, leveraging the resources in the community and other folks to help with that will always go a long way. But that's a key part. As we all know, with growing kids, they like to eat a lot, and so we want to make sure that that's plentiful and there for them to enjoy. And then one of the great things that Abby does is she works every day on trying to find new activities and things for youth to do when not in school. And so this will kind of complement that work. So between Abby and some other folks in the community, we'll work to bring kind of periodic fun additions. So for instance, Abby's putting together a mini John Fair in March. And so that would be something that would be offered during these teen nights as well, so they could not only come for fun, they could also start kind of learning and thinking about their future too. So that's just one example, and then I think Abby mentioned just fire and police, coordinating that presence there, basketball games and other fun things to really build those positive relationships with adults as well. So that's what we have to share with you today. Next slide is our contact information, and we'd really like to work with you on this. Abby, do you have anything to add?
I think you covered everything.
Dave, do you have any questions?
No, that was very good. Thank you.
Mary Ann, do you have any questions?
I do have a ton of questions, but I would like to meet with Charlie Weaver and review some of the problems in the past when we had Safe Stop at the middle school and at Gold Bar L, before any decisions are made. Because what I'm hearing you say is you would like us to give you the facilities at no rental cost to VOA as a partnership, and that that's a discussion we're gonna need to have on damages when they occur, who's paying for the damages.
Understood.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. And I've talked to student support advocates already about this. You probably know that, but and I think this will be great. But we will, work through any little kinks and stuff, and then our next meeting, we should be able to get it on the agenda as an action.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank
You too.
Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, Abby.
Next is January board recognition month.
So I think I want to take a moment first because there's some questions. We currently have 2 board positions open. One gentleman was elected and for his own reasons decided that it wasn't something he wanted to do. District 2, which is Gold Bar, the individual that was in that position accepted a job promotion and it just became more than he wanted to do. So it's a little bit unusual situation, but the District 1 closes this Friday, and I think interviews will be on the 12th at 6 p.m. And then District 2 will close on March 2nd, I believe, or March, whatever that Monday is.
March 11th.
March 11th.
That's what it has on the issue.
That's what the interviews are, but it closes the Friday before. Or, yeah, the 1st. Okay, anyway. So back to State of Washington proclamation. I just want to say thanks to school board members. It's been said in a lot of different ways. People have different reasons for running, but I think in a lot of ways everybody cares. And so I'm going to read this proclamation from the State of Washington. Whereas the mission of Washington's public school system is to ensure that all students achieve at high levels and possess the knowledge and skills to be responsible members of a democratic society and enjoy productive and satisfying lives. And whereas Washington's 1,477 locally elected school boards of directors and 9 elected educational service districts, ESD boards, are the core of the public school education governance system in our state. Serve more than 1.1 million students, have a combined annual budget of over $15 billion, and employ approximately 120,000 people. And whereas School boards play a crucial role in promoting student learning and achievement by creating a vision, establishing policies and budgets, and setting clear standards of accountability for all involved. And whereas school board directors are directly accountable to residents in their districts and regions, serving as a vital link between members of the community and their schools, and whereas school boards and ESDs provide a passionate voice of advocacy for public schools and the welfare of school children, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize school board directors as outstanding public servants and champions for public education. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim January 2024 as School Board Recognition Month in Washington. I encourage all people to join me in this special observance. So I just want to thank all of you, and I think that, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I think everybody's thankful that people take the time out of their day. We had a cake, and we ate the cake, and so, because we had to cancel the meeting. And I apologize for that, but that's what happened. So I just want to say thanks to Gigi for your service, and appreciate working with you, Mary Ann. We've known each other a long time, and I look forward to working with you over the next 4 years, and go from there. So congratulations. And Dave, I will give this to you when we're back in person. Thank you for following up on this and deciding to run for school board. I appreciate it a lot.
Maybe next time we'll get cake.
I'm diabetic, so can we have fruit instead?
We can do that. We can do that.
Sugar and fruit. Do we have any committee and association reports? Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
Just me?
I think it's just you.
On the heels
Not
of that,
just you.
just me.
It's you.
Good evening, directors. I'm Brianne Loomis. I'm currently serving as the Sultan Education Association Vice President, and we wanted to echo what Dan said and just say thank you for your service. We know that a lot of effort and time and thoughtfulness goes into this position, and that it's quite the commitment. So we appreciate everything you do for our students. And on that note, and this is perfect on the heels of the VOA presentation, we'd like to make a donation on your behalf to the VOA Food Bank of $124 for 2024. So thank you, we appreciate you, and thank you.
Thank you, Bree. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Brianne.
All right, is Michael here? Teaching and learning? Nope, okay. Paul, Dr. Paul Douglas, you are up.
Good evening, directors, and I will echo that as well. Thank you for all your service to our community. Much appreciated. Since the meeting was canceled, I provided you some things I wanted you to talk to the legislature about. Unfortunately, you got that ahead, so you have more information than I can provide for you. A couple key issues still down in the legislature this year is fully funding special education. As you will see, some latest information that's come out from Olympia is that is not a direction that the legislature is going to go. Looks like they're moving towards upping the cap in special ed, but not fully funding it. Special education, upping the cap to somewhere around 17.5 is what seems to be the number down there. So just making you aware that not fully funding special education is a huge detriment, not only to the Sultan School District, but every school district in the state of Washington. They don't come close through the calculations and formulas that they use to meet the needs of our students, especially our neediest students. So it's unfortunate the legislature won't consider that. The other bill is a big one is restraint and isolation. It's been a controversial topic down there. It was a controversial topic last session. It is again this session, and partly because it has to do with the safety of students in school and the safety of staff. I think as that bill goes through, hopefully we all can take a closer look at some of the discussion points around why that's so controversial. Unfortunately, we have students in the school that are unable to control the behavior that they have, and when they do exhibit some of that behavior, they need to be supported in a way that helps them de-escalate, and sometimes that requires restraints, and so they can be moved out of the area and allowed to calm down and re-engage. So it is a tool that we use. As you all know, we do not want to go hands-on with students. It would be the very last possibility but is necessary in order to keep students and staff safe in certain situations. So those were the primary ones. I did want to address a statement by the legislature in a recent article that was written and talked about changing safety net and lowering the threshold amount. That information is incorrect. Last year our threshold was 35.7. This year's threshold is 39.7. So I don't know how you go from 35.7 to 39.7, and that's a decrease. So maybe that's a misunderstanding. So also with that, if you have a chance to meet with the legislature, I know we have a legislative rep. One of the challenges that we see with safety net is that districts that are 2,000 students and above, we have to pay out first for all expenses related to high needs students, and we don't receive the reimbursement until the end of the school year. Typically around June or July is when we receive that. If you're a district that is under 2,000, you're allowed to receive quarterly reimbursement. I'm hoping that we can advocate for that change. For districts our size, that's a huge impact, especially when some of our funds that go out are roughly, we're paying $150,000 a year for multiple students to attend non-public agencies. So obviously you can see what that impact is. That would be super helpful if we could get back on a quarterly basis. And on a positive note, just a quick plug, February 21st at Sultan High School, there will be a resource fair. There will be DVR, DDA, and a number of different agencies out there to provide resources and supports for students with special needs. So encourage families to come and learn about the different resources and supports they can get for their students and their families. Thank you so much.
Do you have any questions for Paul?
I have a comment.
Yep.
Would you make sure for that benefit fair, whoever's putting it on, that they reach out to Angel of the Winds Arena in Everett? They employ special needs people. We're season ticket holders for Silvertip Hockey, and so there's people working there with a broad range of abilities, so.
No, that's excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Dave, do you have any questions or comments for Paul?
No, that was very good, Paul. Appreciate the update.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Board comments. We're gonna work on having time for the board to make their own comments for board members. But for this one, we wanted to give a legislative update. I'm currently the leg rep. In June, Marianne will hopefully take that over.
Yes, please.
Yes. So we did go to, on Sunday, Dan, myself, Marianne, and Cameron, our student rep, went down to Olympia. Sunday we had a nice program of a lot of good information that we got, on how to talk to the legislators and, what are the priorities. And then on Monday, we got to talk with Lieutenant Governor. We got to meet our legislators and kind of just advocate for our needs. Biggest need is we want money. We need money to build schools. Marianne, do you have anything you'd like to say about our trip to Olympia?
No, I had a really good time and met a lot of people. I was overwhelmed by last night. When you hit that point of getting peopled out, I was peopled out. There was a lot of people in Olympia yesterday.
It was great with Cameron because she soaked it all in. So it's really nice to have a student rep that really wants to be the student rep and that wants to participate, because she just, the look on her face, she was just like, yes, this is
It is
awesome.
very overwhelming. The
Yeah.
first time, it wasn't my first time. Now, I wish I had the opportunity to go when I was in high school.
Yeah. So that was great. And then just before, so I want to say it one more time, SES is on Thursday, correct? 5 o'clock?
Yeah, right here, 5
Aubrey's
o'clock.
promised that the food is gonna be better than Heather's food. So, we'll see.
Game on.
And then, tours, you're offering for Thursday or any day?
So there were some sign-up sheets, and I think the reason is people can come in at any time, The tendency is people go to Facebook. I hear about it because I don't hang out there much anymore, but we'll give tours to anybody. take you around, you can watch the campus in action, you can see exactly what's happening, and so I would just encourage anybody, and I'm not sure that anybody in here would fit that, but that would want to do that, but it's open to anybody that would do that. You know, I've received 2 phone calls since this, and one of them was today, and one of them was a couple of weeks ago. But it's interesting, as much as you try to communicate, we've set up, you know, that there's this sort of vacuum where I don't have any information, or I didn't know, or you should have did this, or whatever. I mean, we're all adults, man. This isn't really hard to do. It's very easy to see the problem. And so I just would ask that people pick up the phone and call. You know, I'll answer, good, bad, or indifferent, and it just doesn't happen. I put my cell phone number on that stuff. Seriously, and people just they don't want the answers. They want, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's the world we live in, and we're determined to fix this place in a responsible way that will work for everybody. So that's probably a lot more than you wanted to hear, but that's what was on my mind.
So Thursday, 5 o'clock, Salton Elementary, Aubrey's feeding you. Maybe he'll serve you personally. And then if you want to come during school hours, because you can take a look at night, but if you come during school hours, you can come and you can go into the gym and you can see them trying to serve food to the kids while they're trying to hold gym on the other half of the gym, separated between a curtain. And it kind of gives you a nice visual there of what some of the problems are. So come during the day, 11 o'clock. Dan will give you a personal tour. I'll give you a personal tour. Just come. Dan Ballard, you are up. Financial reports.
And Dan is anticipating the birth of a grandchild, so he's going to go fast and leave.
Well, nothing, no news yet. We're on. That's my first grandchild.
That's exciting.
Biological grandchild, if people weren't here, very soon. So.
Boy or girl, as you know?
Baby girl.
Fine. Okay.
So anyway, I have in your packet, based on the number of meetings that we had in December, we only have one. You have both the November financials and the December financials. I'm going to contain my comments to the December financials because obviously they're more current than the November, but I did include them along with the budget status report for the month of November is in your packet. So for December, January, our January count for enrollment was up 10.24. That includes traditional and ALE. We're up 9.64 in traditional and a 0.6 as far as ALE is concerned. So again, just some of the standard graphs that I put in there. So there's the enrollment. There's our overall enrollment as far as traditional is concerned at 1929 for 23-24 this year. Kindergarten enrollment, as we have discussed previously.
Can I jump in real quick? Could you go back to that last one real quick, the enrollment numbers? Because there were some conversations about enrollment being the same as 2014 as it is right now. So I'm just looking and I see that that was incorrect.
Yeah, so the districts, this goes back to 9-10. You can see it was very much a V pattern. In 9-10 we were at 1852 and then it declined until it hit its low point in 13-14 and then it grew, flattened out, and then obviously the pandemic hit in 2021, so that's an anomaly, but it is represented there at 1652 and then has bounced back nicely since then.
Thank you, I just wanted to point that out.
Yep. Kindergarten, as we've talked about before, at Gold Bar, we had unexpectedly a very small number of kindergartners this year, so that's really what explains the majority of that discrepancy between 174.3 in 22-23 and 144.8 in 23-24. Enrollment, the next couple slides, again traditional and then followed by ALE as it said before. We have our numbers there. And then continuing on to property taxes. So this just shows the total amount of outstanding property taxes. Again, we're in December at this point, so we have had the fall collection. What remains as far as essentially uncollected taxes for prior years, calendar years 2023 back to 1996, about $178,000 in general fund, and then in capital projects fund about $84,000 in residual balances. Typically those, what we will see, especially with those older ones, those won't clear until property sales. Typically there's some liens on property that have to be cleared prior to transfer of ownership. So those do trickle in Not real rapidly, but eventually you will see that money. The budget status report, again, for December 2023, general fund $1,351,615. For Fund 20, capital projects fund $2,029,860. Just a reminder also too, in the month of February coming up is our tax anticipation note will be payable to Snohomish County. So that will be payable as approximately $2.6 million, but that is already figured into that balance there. So for Fund 30, debt service fund, $127,220. Fund 40, associated student body, and for those of you for the first time, ASB is all schools, elementary, middle, and high combined, $202,424. And Fund 90, transportation vehicle fund, $397,895. What follows from that is what we have called previously exceptions reports, or kind of looking at what point are we in the fiscal year, and what point are we as far as expenditures are concerned, okay? So fiscal year complete, 1/3 of the fiscal year complete, and as far as where our budgeted expenditures versus our actual expenditures. So I won't go into a great amount of detail, but for salaries and benefits, we're 0.6% below proportionate share. So it said, if you assume that you're gonna spend 1/12 every month, at this point, we are 0.6% below that value at this point. For materials, supplies, and operating costs, this is all things other than salaries and benefits, we are 3.4% below proportionate share. So again, if we had, in a perfect world, if you spent 1/12 of your budget every month, at this point, we would be 3.4% below that benchmark. And then all areas, we are 1.2% below. So salaries and benefits, materials, supplies, operating costs combined, we are 1.2% below proportionate share. The next page is where we have gone into and updated some of the numbers as far as a projection and looking forward. Have given this to you before. We have had to review it a number of times because typically I don't provide this until we've had the enrollment true up in January. This was produced before that document was released last Friday, so it doesn't reflect any of those changes on there. So I will bring it back at the next meeting with those numbers and then make those any necessary adjustments. But what we're looking at, again, for December, we said $1,351,615. And forecasting out, you can see at this point, a projected ending fund balance August of 2024 of $616,256. Now you can see our low water mark is always June of each year. June is in May and June are both what we call low apportionment months. And so your fund balance will tend to always be at its lowest point in June. At this point in June, projecting over $318,000 in fund balance for the month of June. Then in July and August, you get additional apportionment, and it helps to bring your fund balance back up in the final 2 months of the fiscal year. So what we've done through here is some of those areas that are they're yellow, but they look orange on this slide. There is some degree of uncertainty for those things, so we're looking at that. I had highlighted state revenues as uncertainty, but again, this was before the January apportionment true-up report was released, because this meeting was originally going to happen before that time. And then there is some, as far as the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, you can see the $150,000 a month of January, February, March. We have now moved that to February, March, April. We just basically slid that down 1 month, still keeping it at $450,000, but sliding it down by one month. And some of those other factors are there, but those are becoming more clear now that we have additional information that was not available at the time I produced this report. So I will give you next month on that. And then just a graph as far as the fund balance, keeping pretty standard as far as the flow of that is concerned. And then what our estimated ending fund balance would be for 23-24 should the $616,256 come to pass. That would equal 1.6%. Current minimum fund balance policy for the district is 4%. The only other factor that I know we have talked about before is curriculum, as far as elementary mathematics curriculum. And the numbers that I have shared with you there do not include the cost of purchasing that curriculum. So I just want to make everybody aware that what is in there are essentially standard costs of doing business, not extraordinary expenditures, which I would consider the curriculum an extraordinary expenditure. That's it.
Dave, do you have questions for Dan?
No. Guess not. Thank you.
Marianne?
No, I would like to follow up with you in the next day or two
Okay,
on some of this.
sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
I've had my questions answered already, by talking to you, so, I think that's it.
All right. And I'd like to echo the sentiments of those coming before me, and thank you, directors, for your service and all that you do for the district.
Congrats on the grandbaby.
Thank you.
All right, approval of club, tea time with Mrs. Moore. Do you have, yes, Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, I am the Sultan Middle School science, one of the science teachers, and I've started a club, giving folks a space to learn social emotional tactics and skills, giving them tools to speak with one another, just a time after school on Mondays. I don't know if you all have any specific questions of.
Dave, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Marianne?
Is this going to be run under ASB umbrella or as separate standalone?
ASB, and I have approval from ASB, just not board approval.
Okay, and is there students driving this or is this staff driven?
It's student driven, but I kind of lead them in a certain direction, giving them different tools that they can use. But I allow students to kind of choose where they want to go with that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have, I saw that you went through all the procedures that you needed to go through and got all the correct sign-offs that you needed. So do we have a motion to approve the club Tea Time with Mrs. Moore for the Sultan Middle School?
Do you want this one, Dave, or do you want me to take it? I don't want to
Motion
hog.
to approve.
Thanks, Dave.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right, you're approved. Have fun with that. Thank you. Update of winter damage. Is that you, Dan?
That is me. And Dan, if you want to talk a little bit about this, we got an estimate for the floor, and it looks like the floor is going to need replacing. I don't know. We have 100% confirmation of that.
Not 100% yet,
But
no.
we got an estimate in case, and the issue is that the life of a floor, I think I've mentioned 4 times, you can sand them up to 3 times. We know of at least a couple sandings. And the way it works when it's a floating floor, I've had this happen in another school district, is water gets underneath it, it cups, and you end up, meaning it kind of bows a little bit, ends up being a real problem. And so all of the broken pipes that we experienced had to do with the fire system, fire suppression system in attic areas or areas that just don't receive any heat. And so there's that part of it. Do you know where we are as far as classroom?
I toured today up at the high school. Charlie and I walked the property. There has been remediation efforts going on for now 2.5 weeks approximately. They have cut drywall in some specific areas, drilled holes. They have had air movers and dehumidifiers in there for all that time. So it certainly appears to feel much drier in there, but I have not gotten a confirmation that they are done at this point. So I'm not sure how much longer the equipment is going to need to stay in place before they pull the equipment out and then actually start the repair process.
So was there something we could have done to prevent this from happening?
I don't believe so.
Was it due to the heat being turned off in the schools?
The area, well, at the high school, the area that broke was in a soffit, an exterior of the building under a soffit, so.
You're talking classroom part.
The one at the high school, the classroom one,
In
yes.
the gym, it was up in the attic area.
Correct.
No heat up there. And it's, the challenge we have with the fire suppression system is that the water doesn't continuously flow. We can't empty them out during these cold periods. And so there's got to be a way to, keep the water moving or something. When you saw all of these schools that have these issues happen across Puget Sound, it was mostly the fire system stuff. I don't know all the details of what they went through, but, in Stanwood, for example, they had 5 schools. Just a huge mess. And so we came out of it pretty good. But
Yeah. Many schools suffer.
nevertheless, it's
losses.
still it's a headache, it's a cost, it's
What about
challenge.
Gold Bar, the classrooms?
Gold Bar, fortunately, the loss was much less. It essentially was contained to one classroom, one workroom, which fortunately does have hard tile floor in it, but it did get some water, so we may have some cabinets. And then it slightly migrated about a foot into an adjoining room. So essentially, one full room, a workroom, and a very minor water intrusion into a third space.
So is that teacher now paid from the last time?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
has she been paid for this time
No,
yet?
no, we're just got the documentation from her this week, the other day, as far as the inventory. of the
So we'll get
loss.
her paid ASAP?
Yes,
this
yes,
week?
we issued her a check, like I said, to get her taken care of for the prior time. There was some, and I don't wanna take up a lot of time, there was a great deal of misunderstanding and some misinformation that came from our insurance provider on how that was.
Yeah,
to be
Dan had
handled.
mentioned that, so,
Yeah.
okay, I just want to make sure
We're-
that,
Unfortunately, we're becoming better at this, better than I want to be, having doing this 2 years in a row now, so I'm becoming,
do we know if she has needs that are not covered that she might need help with, or any of the other classrooms, teachers?
It was put out on Facebook on what
saw
sort
that.
of books and materials.
I spoke with her personally, like I said, she was there the night that we were doing remediation, which was on Monday the 15th, it was on MLK Day is when we were there, I believe. She was there, and then I went up on another time when she was there doing some inventory and spoke with her when the adjuster and I walked through. Asked her how things were going, she said she's set up in her other room, things to be going well. Some of her colleagues were providing support, to her. But no, I have not heard, I mean, Heather's here, yeah, I mean, she doing okay?
She actually expressed a tremendous amount of gratitude. There was a post that was put out on Facebook, and colleagues and community members alike have really stepped up and provided her some books and some resources, and she's actually been able to share some of those resources with some of the teachers that were impacted last year by the flood damage as well. So I know that she still has kind of a little wish list going of some small things, but all in all, the community's been just fantastic about helping.
One of the big problems at Gold Bar last winter was the pipe break was associated with a power outage.
Yeah.
Big
Mhm.
problem. This year, we get alerted when there's the fire system goes off, and so we were able to respond to it really quickly. But
I think we just want to
nevertheless-
make sure that
That this
anybody
is-
that has been affected
Mhm.
is made whole again, and
Right.
that they
There was
shouldn't
a-
have to beg.
There was an extended delay in getting her, and I'll take partial responsibility for that. But again, we are on top of things. We will make sure that things get expedited this time. As I said, it's not something you really want to practice too much, but having done it a year ago, we have some current knowledge, and now we're working with, as far as our insurer, the top claims person there. So Sharon is very good, and she knows how this all works, so she's giving us some good guidance, where we had gotten initially what turned out to be not correct guidance the first time around, so.
Is there any more for the update you want to?
No, we'll keep you up to date. It's, I think the response from our staff was really fast. Water is just damaging, and the sooner you can get to it, the better. It just destroys stuff quickly, and when it gets into the walls, it gets sucked up, and that's part of the problem. So they drill holes all along the base, and they try to run air through there to dry it out, and it's just a really damaging situation.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think the maintenance operation, Mr. Weaver's staff did an excellent job. When I came on site, Monday morning was around 10 a.m. They were already there. They were extracting water out of the carpets. They were doing all the stuff that you do in response to an all water incident. So their efforts definitely their efforts definitely helped stop further damage, in more classrooms. But-
Questions or comments?
I do have a comment, but my comment is for Kayla.
Yes.
In board docs, can we please not upload MSG file extensions? Because when my device tries to open it in Word, it looks like computer language gibberish. I did have the previous email and I did review it on the previous email, but I was not able to open it and view it in Word docs.
So we'll be in the process of, like I said, as soon as we get the all clear as far as that the drying is done, then we'll start working with contractors as far as repairing, making decisions and repairing damage. How long that's gonna take, I do not know.
Dave, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. How is our insurance coverage? What's our responsibility and what's covered? Are we 100% covered?
Yeah, there's, it'll be, we have, I believe it's $1,000 deductible, Dave, but then it'll cover 100% after that to restore us to prior condition. So insurance is always to restore you back to where you were prior to loss, not to improve your situation, but to restore you to where you were.
So that will include the new gym floor?
It would, yes, it would. If it is deemed that it is unable to be sanded, then it would be a replacement situation. So that's why we're waiting for final okay from the contractor as far as is it dry, and then we can make that final decision.
Okay. And then my second question is that this happened last year, a similar water issue, correct?
At Gold Bar, correct.
Okay, so, and at that time, did we do like a review or analysis? Like, at least from the corporate background that I come from, we always do like, after we have an incident of some sort, we do a failure analysis to find out what we can change and do better, and identify our weaknesses in other locations or facilities or whatever. Have we done any, did last year, did we do any failure analysis that would have identified that this year?
It would better be a question for Mr. Weaver to answer than I, but I know that we certainly had discussions as far as what caused it. Last year was a kind of unique set of circumstances that Dan touched on, is that there was no power to the building, therefore the alarm system did not notify us nearly as, did not notify us, and so we found the water much later last year than we did this year, because we were alerted and were able to respond much more quickly. But both of the failures, as I understand them, were again related to the fire suppression system. This one last year was primarily in the opposite end of the building from where the one occurred this past, a couple of weeks ago.
I would say, I don't know, to the extent that a failure analysis entails a large, list of things that you do. We certainly had some post-discussion on what can we change about our circumstances. And because we haven't had the fire suppression system break, we've had some heaters have some problems, but not years in a row. And so this is really the first year where we've had back-to-back issues.
Okay. Will it be a post-mortem follow-up meeting for this incident?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's excellent.
And I think this will include having the fire company that services those involved in that, because I know there's already discussions going on that we know what our problem is. Can it be handled with insulation? Do you need heat? Is there a pump that we can hook into the system at each school to keep the water flowing?
And I think if you're feeling better, that would be a great thing for you to be involved in, because I think you could bring a lot to that discussion. If you're feeling better.
Yeah, this is...
Not now, I'm still in the hospital. Anyway, I guess I'd take more of that offline, I guess, but it would be good to have a follow-up meeting and identify, our weaknesses and lessons learned. I think that would be important to, say, hey, let's, next year, like if I had heard of this pipe break in, another school district, Stanwood or Marysville or somewhere like that, I'd want to know what those were and why. So to find out whether we too were vulnerable. So it's good to have an ear out for those and to just, because they break, and I understand we got old schools, some of them back to 51, and so we probably have a list of vulnerabilities. It'd be good to know what they are.
Well, I think that it's, again, your insurance company in this case, they want to do whatever is necessary to mitigate loss, to save them from having to pay claims out. So it's in both of our best interest to find solutions, economical solutions, so that we don't find ourselves in the same situation next year or the year after.
Right.
During my 11 years, we've had, Dan touched on when we had one at the middle school that was related to heat registers. It was fairly extensive. Then we had the one last year at Gold Bar, and then the one this year, which was at both the high school and at Gold Bar. So we had 2 buildings at high school.
So for the high school gym, just so they know, there's no activities in the gym for now until we find out for sure, and then so probably no activities in the gym for the rest of the year.
Tonight is the last boys' basketball game, and so senior night, they're hosting it at, Can't remember. Do you remember, Laura?
Overlake, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Overlake.
So thankful to them for doing that. It's unfortunate we're not able to do it here.
It's tragic we're out of gym for the rest of the year.
Well, I think let's clarify that. Again, we haven't had any formal conversations, but I did have a discussion with the adjuster when he and I walked the property, and there would be the option. Again, the gym would probably not be deemed compliant for having a competition on, but could look, once they are done and removing the drying, getting all the equipment out of there and vacating the space, look at possibly using it for PE for the remainder of the year, so at least you have access to the space. And then should a resurfacing or replacement have to happen, find a time that would be maybe less disruptive to educational needs for that space, whether that be over summer.
I question that because I've seen cup floors before, and when they cup, it's very pronounced. Kids wouldn't be able to run on the floor if the cupping is severe.
Yeah, Dave, I've been there twice. It is such that if you put your finger across it, you can feel it. But I mean, it's not such that I would think it would be a trip hazard. But again, I'm not an expert, but you certainly can feel it if you run your finger across it. It's not smooth. You can feel the edges of the planking, but it's not such that you would trip, that I think you would create a trip hazard.
All right, well, we'll see what happens and what they say, but I think we're good with that update. Okay, thank you. PLCs, I'm guessing this is why we have all of the admins in the back.
They were summoned from Facebook, that's why they're here.
Yeah.
So, just talk a little bit, so I think a big part of this process that's going on is the board is involved in this, and, we're making this a commitment of the district, and so we want to set the stage for that tonight, and it'll become more of a regular part of our board meeting.
These happy faces up there.
So, we can start wherever you want. We have Sultan Elementary principal teacher, Gold Bar principal teacher, administration from the middle school, and we have administration from the high school. So,
awesome, thank you. Sultan Elementary, I'll just take a brief moment to kind of show you where we're at. I appreciate the work that the board is doing in regards to PLCs. As a district, we've been working on this for quite some time, and it's nice to get the board involved as well as everybody in the schools again too. Having been here for a while now at the school as principal and as a teacher prior to that, the work has been ongoing for some time, and it will continue going that direction through my time and beyond that, hopefully. And so our grade level teams are working tirelessly during their PLC times, which is about every other Friday, maybe a little bit less often than that, but they have some time built in during that early release time to work together. Our focus this year is on essential standards, determining the standards that our students are guaranteed that they will learn in each grade level before moving on to the next. Eventually getting interventions and common assessments that will support those standards so we can ensure students are learning at high levels the things they need to learn. The state, the Common Core is more than can be taught in 1 year in any class, and so it's up to our teachers to work together to determine what is most important and make sure we hit those things, and then if we can get to the less important things, to do those as well. But I'll let Summer chime in kind of on how our training filters down to the staff that she and I both work with. She does a phenomenal job as a teacher leader, but she works a lot more with some of the grade levels than I'm able to, so go for it.
All right, thank you. I had the privilege to be asked to work on this team. I've been training alongside administrators and other teachers, and the training, I will have to say, has probably been some of the best that I have ever had in the district, period. The conversations that I've had, I've been able to teach back to not only my team, but I've also been able to work with other teachers. It's really helping us all develop deeper, more common understandings of the work that we want to be doing with students, the essential learnings that we want to guarantee that they leave our grade levels with, and to I've I've worked with not just my team, but I've also worked with 2 other teams. I know that I'm going to be working with other teams as well. We've all identified the essential standards, and now at this point in the year, we're working on breaking down those so we can get more specific with what each one of those standards means. So different grade levels are at different points, and just the work we've been doing has been really good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. Appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you, Summer.
We'll just follow up and echo the elementary sentiment. We've been working within our PLCs for quite some time now, trying to dive into those standards. We've done some essential standards work in the past, so resurrecting old work and just revisiting it, making sure that we are still in agreement on those standards or making shifts as the team see fit. Madison Berry was going to be here tonight and I wasn't able to make it, and so she wrote a little statement that, if you don't mind me reading on her behalf, and then I'll have Jamie speak on hers. So Madison said she's a 4th grade teacher here at Gold Bar. She said I will be honest in saying that I was a solution tree PLC skeptic at the start of the year. In the last several years in 4th grade, they have focused on common assessments, making sure they are teaching the same way and the same content, finding the resources or diving deeper into resources we have. Last year, working with Jamie, they also focused on student growth through interventions and developed needed supports. She thought that that's what every PLC was doing and did not realize that some were not at the same levels. This year, with the prep time that we've had, the team is focused on just a few math and reading standards. As a grade level, we met all of the time to talk and discuss what we were doing. We met before school, at recess, lunch, planning time, and on PLC's Fridays. They do not need to wait for the specific every other Friday PLC time to talk about how we're doing or tackle the next topic or ask questions to get help. With that time, they found common assessments for all of the standards and been able to use some of their intervention time to target those students that need additional supports on the core standards. Every student in 4th grade has a plan of support and has been broken into groups based on what they need, not on what teacher they have. It has been overwhelming at times, she said, and at times frustrating. Coming to an understanding of what the standard is talking about, figuring out the best way to grade it, determining at what level of student work meets the standards, and being consistent in all 3 classrooms has not been easy. That being said, they are seeing growth in their students, and they see that the students are comfortable with each of the teachers. They know that every teacher in the 4th grade wants them to succeed and will help them get there. That in itself is worth it to be. Every kid knows we are their cheerleaders and wanting nothing more than to see them succeed. So she speaks quite a bit to the high levels of calibration and really just the collective ownership of all students and their learning needs through this work.
Will you tell her thank you for taking that?
Hi, I'm Jamie Yeager, and I teach 3rd grade at Gold Bar, and I am the rep for the PLC, and I work directly with the teams of teachers as well. And so this year, Heather has given me some time to be able to work with each of the individual teams. So at this point, all K through 5 teams in Gold Bar have identified their essential standards for both reading and math. So they've narrowed it down to the 3 to 5 standards that they would like to really do a deep dive into this year. And so as we are teaching them this year, we're really going through and talking about what does that standard look like? Like, what does it look like being taught in your classroom? What is the vocabulary that we're going to be teaching? How are we going to assess it? How are we making sure that we're assessing it the same way? And how are we going to analyze that data to really make sure that we're meeting the needs of the kids? And so we've been having some really deep conversations around those standards and what they need, and today we just kind of met as a staff, and we are starting to see a lot of successes in some areas, and we're hearing a lot more really deep conversations, so it's going really well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Next.
Thank you.
Middle school and high school have worked pretty closely together. We've been going through,
You know what? It was Kayla on it. I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Okay.
I apologize.
Well, middle school and high schools have been looking at the standards and deciding which standards are essential through something called the REAL assessment. First, R would be for the readiness for the next grade level. Is this standard going to take them to the next grade level or course so that it would prepare them for it? E would be endurance. is this gonna go beyond just one test? Is this going to be something that's going to help them later on in life? Then the A would be for the assessment. Would it be on a state benchmark or a national assessment? Maybe SAT, something that they would need to know for later on. And then they looked at the leverage. Is this going to be in multiple disciplines? So will it be in math and science? And could it be in history or English? And the teachers went through in their PLCs and they looked at all the standards and said, yes, these are the standards based on the real assessment. And we could show you an example of what they did. It's on slide 14.
It's on its way. I apologize.
Okay. So once they've done that, that ended in October. They decided these are the most important standards. Every PLC has gone through that. And so now we are working on actually breaking down, they're pretty much getting done with this. They're working on the proficiency map and skills, and they're saying, okay, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. We're actually first looking at when are we going to teach these? So now they're putting them into an actual calendar, and this March we are going to do our first full lesson where they're using the assessments, and every single PLC is going to look at the assessments together and decide, is this what, how did this go, and then come back and calibrate if it went well. So we're getting there.
That's good to hear that it's coming up soon, that you guys are gonna really put it.
We're gonna do it this
Yeah.
year. We're starting, we're gonna do a second round in April as well, so we're getting there.
Yeah, and just at the middle school, we just want to echo what Laura Breen and Sarita are doing up at the high school. Is we have also broken down into our essential standards in each of our PLCs, done the real process as well. I'm sure you don't want me to rehash everything that Laura just spoke about. But our teachers are now really diving deep into their process of putting it all together, and so they can see the full picture, so it makes this 3-year process go a little bit smoother. Kim's put together kind of a pacing guide, and we have a set guide for our teachers of here's our expectations of what you're going to be doing. Come January 19th, everything's going to be due of our essential standards. Now we're going to be setting what our learning targets and proficiency skills are, and that's going to be coming in the next few rounds of our PLC Fridays, which will be by the end of March. And then by that time, they're going to take those assessments, reassess everything, and then do that same process for the next 4 to 6 weeks before the end of school, so we get that full picture, and then we can keep that momentum rolling into next year.
So I was just gonna show an example. It looks the same with the high school and the middle school, of what the real assessment, what the staff went through. We put them all onto one large Excel sheet so that we can check what everybody's doing. So there's a link on there on slide 14. Yeah, right there.
And at the middle school, we've got the same process as well.
So this is an example of where they went through the real assessment and they decided these are the standards. I think you're looking at personal finance. If you go over to geometry in the middle, you can see they did a little bit more. They have more standards. So they went through and they picked out which standards, and you can see the highlighted ones are like, these are the most essential. They put the dates that they would be covering these standards, and so it just gave them a really clear roadmap for what they need to cover. And then if you go over to slide, so after that, once they pick the essential standards, where did I say? We go to slide 19. And then once they take those standards, they bring it over to this format. And now you can actually see where they take the standards and they break it down into the assessments, how they're going to assess, or the standards and how they're going to break them down to assessments and extensions based on what their students need. So we're getting there.
And then just in short, the elementary really hit on it a little bit about the essential standards. OSBI and government have said, here's the standards that we expect you to be teaching in each of your classes. And Mike Matos PLC guru, I think the length of time was 27 years old to be taught all of those essential standards. So I don't know about you, I didn't want to go to school until I was 27. I wanted to be done when I was done by 18. So it's kind of a key thing to hit those really essential standards, to dive deep into those, to ingrain those, the learning for our students to be successful in college and beyond in society.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
I know when the board passed this, whenever that was, seems like forever ago, but one of the concerns was buy-in, and it sounds like you guys are getting buy-in from your teachers. So that's awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sorry.
It would be so very helpful if staff would give their names when they started, because I think Aubrey and Laura are the only two that I know who they are. And Jamie was the only one that gave her name. So when people are listening to audio from the meeting, or there's people from the public here that don't know who people are, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Dave, do you have anything, comments or questions?
No, that was a very nice presentation.
Because they're all running out the door as we speak.
7 a.m.
Of course they-
really early.
Yes. Maybe we'll put you guys earlier in the agenda next time. All right, approval of graduation time change.
I make a motion to approve changing the time to 2 p.m. instead of 6 p.m.
Is there anything that you say about it?
No, it actually, I was a little concerned, but we adjusted the date on the calendar, so it actually gives us some time. Seniors, by law, can get out 5 school days before. So graduation was actually first scheduled the day after the last day of school. Now we have to go to the 20th, and so this is not an issue.
Okay.
Time.
Dave, do you have any questions?
No, I think it's fine.
And I'm assuming you don't have questions?
No,
All
I
right,
was
so we have a
following
motion.
it in the email when it came up, and so,
So we have a motion to approve graduation time change. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good to go. Discussion of bond 2024.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Kayla pull up the fact sheet. I was just thinking about it, and I'm just gonna kind of respond out loud. Jeff said something that got me thinking. And I don't know if this is perceived as a trust issue, but when I go out and buy a car, say I spent $20,000 on a car, and there's an interest rate, I don't usually normally come back and say, well, my car is gonna cost me $28,000. I say the price that it is. I don't know if I need to look at this differently, or if I'm the only one that looks at it this way. You know, so that's kind of interesting. And so when you say a bond, or you're taking a bond out for X amount of millions, that's the truth. That's what you're taking out. But there is an interest rate. We don't know what the interest rate is right now, because there's nothing that's been sold. And so I would just urge anybody that's listening, watching, whatever, is not trying to mislead people. We've got a problem that's got to be dealt with. And Dan Ballard, Jeff Estes, Heidi Dawson, I can't think of it, there was a couple more in here, all served on the CFAC. Mary Ann was there. Gigi went a few times. And went up and down and all around. And I think some of the same things come up all the time. And I'm just not sure how you ever get by them, or if you ever do. It's really a matter of saying, you know, let's figure this out. You know, we've talked extensively about interest, or the impact fees will be put into this when we get there. And we'll know exactly how many they are. We've talked about the per square footage could increase. Don't know exactly what it is. No, but I think, you know, if I'm hearing it right, there's some people, because we don't have that laid out yet, feel like we're not telling the whole story. And so we're going to go through the slide up there. Anyway, we get one fact sheet as a school district, front and back. And so this is really what it is. And I just want to thank the committee for putting this together. You know, one of the questions we heard that Gigi addressed at the front of this was, well, why are you building a school for all the new homes? What about all the people who've been here? You know, that was a consideration that the committee undertook and thought about, that it really wouldn't be a good idea to just build a new school up on the basin or whatnot. Have Sultan Elementary School, which Dave referred to as the school that's got a gym that was built in 1951, and separate it that way. going back to the previous board, before some of the current members were on there, one of the things we talked a lot about was a reconfiguration. You know, you might have to redo the grades in a different way. And this committee answered that call. That came from the previous board, not the exact, you know, mix that we have, but they said, you know, thinking about how you create space and how you do these things, you might need to get creative. Because the truth be told, you know, there's much more work to do than $79.995 million, much more. And so I'm going to go through this a little bit and just kind of let everybody know that, you know, this is, if you look at, you know, what will the bond do? It'll eliminate these 28 portable classrooms, Gold Bar and Sultan. It'll build a new 450-student pre-K through 4th grade elementary school up on the Basin Road. Next Tuesday, February 6th, the transaction is taking place between us and DNR, where our land transfer will be heard by them. And I'm signing the papers tomorrow for that. We timed it out this late in the year because the impact fees that we're collecting right now, we needed that cash to keep cash flow going. And the reason is when you pay for something as large as an $8.5 million facility out of a levy, you know, the levy comes in twice a year over 4 years. Can't be done in a district our size unless you have some other access to cash. So we borrow the cash from ourselves, pay ourselves back, and at that point we'll have the money to be able to pay for the property and then devote whatever impact fees we have to the project as we get there. Remodel, add 10,000 square feet to Gold Bar Elementary School. And that also will be a pre-K through 4 school, serving 450 kids. Right now, I think the gentleman that was here before had asked me what the current capacity was. This school right here is built for 416. Currently has 675, including preschool. And you can see the portables and the portable restroom out there.
So can we clarify, we have 10 portables on this campus?
Yeah.
And how many portables do we have on Gold Bar L?
I think,
I think Summer said it was 19. Is that right, Summer?
Classrooms or
We have
buildings?
12 classrooms, 6 buildings.
6 buildings, 12 classrooms.
yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I got a little bit confused on that. And some of them, they aren't self-contained classrooms, all of them. But because you ran out of space, you have a computer lab in one where kids get to see. You've got other things going on because your core ability to serve kids in the main building, it becomes non-existent because you don't have space. The one school we have some space in is the middle school. It's not a lot, but we have some space. And so after those 2 elementaries, the new one is built and the Gold Bar is remodeled and updated and has 10,000 square feet to do, we'll have to do a boundary change. And the boundary change will send kids either up to the Basin or to Gold Bar. Can't do that right now because there's a few more developments in the pipeline, and we need to see kind of where the population of kids are before we do that. That would make this campus, would go from 675 kids to about 350, and it would become a 5-6 campus, serving 5th and 6th grade, so you'd have some capacity here. And the middle school would go from current 6, 7, and 8 configuration to just 7 and 8. And you would, you know, have about a room for about another 100 kids there. And then the bus barn, or the old transportation cooperative behind the middle school would you know, be demolished, and then that property would become available for other uses. And that's part of, I think, if you look back at the board's involvement over the iterations of the board, that's part of what they wanted to see, was a reconfiguration and, you know, being wise about how the space was used. And then Sultan High School, Gigi and I and Mary Ann were with Representative Eslick. We're drafting a letter to follow up on it, but we requested through the capital budget a STEM center, 18,500 square feet, that would put in 12 classrooms, 8 basic ed classrooms at 900 square feet apiece, and then 4 STEM classrooms at 1,200 square feet apiece. And it would go, I guess it would be, trying to get my direction correct, on the southwest side of the courtyard gym area back there. And so They need it too, but we can't just do everything through a bond. What we're doing now is hard, and you can see some of the resistance, you know? And so, but failing doesn't solve our problem, and so we're gonna have to figure out ways to make this all work. It's a big deal, and years down the road, this problem's only gonna be worse. And so, ballots come out, they're out. The fact sheets, I believe, are out. Have to turn in your ballot signed by February 13th, and we'll see where it goes. A lot of people have worked really hard to try to see this through, and that's, you know, essentially this is what came into mailboxes from the school district, right here. Focus on that box. What will it cost? Because I think this is another one. I looked at this from both different ways. One of them was to put the full kind of deal there, because I understood the confusion around this, but you don't pay it off in 4 years. There was no, you know, no purposeful deal to try to deceive. It's really, how do you use your space appropriately the best you can? And so that was probably the one time I did get onto Facebook, is I put out the, you know, a longer term from 2013, I think, out past a few years, to where you can see the actual, you know, what happens to your taxes over time. And one of the real important parts of this to know is that the capital levy that was passed in 2022 will be sunsetted, all but the 25 cents for the technology, at the end of 2026. That's when the bigger part of the bond kicks in, and your taxes will actually be lower in 2027 and 8 than they will be in 2026. So we've tried to be as thoughtful as we can. Unfortunately, there's nothing for free, and you know, we've got you know, a lot of people have worked really hard. I'm seeing folks in here that I'm working with in different areas to try to get this going, and so Thursday night is the next presentation to the general public. It starts at 5 p.m. and you know, please invite people to go, and we can do school tours then. I don't think night tours are the best, and so we will make it available for people to come anytime during the day. And you know, I think trying to develop a rapport where people really want answers to questions is kind of the trick. And how do you help that happen? Because, you know, I'm open to answer any questions, honestly. And if I find that an answer I've given somebody is either unclear or doesn't make sense or misleads somebody, I'll definitely correct it, because we're not trying to deceive anybody. We're trying to take care of a problem that's been kicked down the road for not just years but decades, and you know, try to deal with it in a way that's responsible. I understand that, you know, these are hard things for people, but at the same time, community-minded folks will want to take care of our public schools and our community, and go from there.
I just want to touch real quick on the CFAC, because these people have spent hundreds of hours of their time volunteering to go through all the different options and try to figure out what option is the best, what's going to be best for the students, what's going to be best for the taxpayers. They looked at everything, and this is what they came up with. And so it's not that, you know, Dan sat down and, you know, this is what we want to do. No, this was community members that came up with this. So just also a reminder, 60% is what we need to pass. It's not just a 51, you have to have 50%, you have to have 60%. So it's those yes votes, those votes really need to get out and do that. Dave, do you have anything you want to comment?
Well, I didn't hear Dan say that as new houses or new families move into the area, right, that bond price goes down, because it gets diluted by more and more payers. So,
which you think would be a really good thing, but I've seen it like turned around now that, you know, but yeah, but that's a good point.
But they've done a heck of a job, yes. And all the kids get something out of this, not just, you know, certain pockets of it. All the kids will benefit everywhere.
Yep, thank you. Mary Ann, do you have anything?
I was on the committee, and I led the charge in the focus group that looked at Sultan Elementary School and Basin Road, and I have to tell you, we have Calmback Dam above us, and from a safety perspective, putting the pre-K to grade 4 up Basin Road and getting them out of this core and them not having to do the damn safety drill every fall was huge for me. Because 5th grade on up, they're much better at going up Love's Hill on that timed walk every fall. So it was very safety driven for me.
All right, well, yeah, just try to get people to come Thursday night. That would be awesome. Discussion of open board position.
Kind of mentioned it before, the District 1 position that was filled through election and you know, individual circumstances changed and now is reopened, closes Friday. And interviews will take place at our February meeting at 6 p.m. And swearing in will actually take place during the meeting. And then shortly thereafter, the person in District 2, we had known for a while had taken on quite a bit more work responsibility, and you know, the board and myself were trying to make sure that we're doing things on behalf of the community and the school district, and putting in the time and doing the study and all of the work necessary. And so there was several things we were going to schedule that just became, you know, it's a commitment, it's a big commitment, you know, and just could not do that.
I'm not sure I understand.
That makes two of us.
All right, so open board, legislative rep meetings, we already discussed that, and we already went, so I don't really think we need to spend any time on that unless you guys want to. Grant committee. I would like to propose, and just food for thought right now, and then we can kind of get into it more at our next meeting. I would like to propose a grant committee where we have board member, some staff, community members, that they spend a lot of time looking for grants, because there's a lot of grants out there and we do a really good job of getting them, but there's a ton of them out there that we don't know about, and we need to spend more time doing that. So I would propose doing that, and then I would propose somebody leading that if we do decide to do that. So I think you would be good at that.
I would like to move forward with that. I don't know if you know, Donna Murphy used to be the grants coordinator, economic development for the city. And she's one of my close friends and lives right by me. And so she would be a great person to tap into to get some direction before doing that.
Do you have questions or concerns with that?
That sounded like a great idea, like Mary Hans came up with, so yeah, that's wonderful.
I think that instead of just moving forward, let's kind of get together and kind of get a framework of it. And then at our next meeting, we can vote and put that together. Awesome.
Absolutely.
I have update of mental health advisory committee. Heidi and I don't really have much of an update, or Jeff, is there anything that you guys can think of? We meet, we're kind of figuring out our days and times we're gonna meet, but we, you know, the group puts in a lot of hours, a lot of thought, and a lot of work to try to get some mental health awareness out to our kids, and we appreciate, you know, Paul joining as well. And I think probably our next meeting, because we've been here a while now, but I'll have one of our members do a presentation, and I think that would be good, and I think Jeff could probably help with that too, so. Then we have policies coming up for 226.
So let's go ahead and take a look at those. Job sharing with staff members, we'll have a first read.
And for the new people, we'll put the policies up now, and then those are the policies we're gonna discuss next month. So it gives you time to go in and read them and ask any questions that you have ahead of time. So then when we come, our questions are answered, and it's easier to get through it if we've done that ahead of time. So those you'll always know what we're gonna discuss the next.
So you have a copy of the current, you have a copy of the proposed. Won't do anything until our next meeting, and so you can bring back suggestions. You know, you might agree with exactly the way it reads. You might have concerns or things that you want me to do a little research on, and that's typically how the process works. And then once we mark up a first read or just accept it as is, then another period goes by, and then we come back and do the second read and adopt it, or you can, table it. Sometimes there's different things that need to happen, where there's a few different things that can happen, but this is typically the way the policy process works, and we're focused on the policies that are essential right now, going through to get those updated to start with.
Do you have any superintendent report info that we haven't already gone over?
No, just that, I think the whole WASDA conference was good. I'm glad that we went. Wasn't anything remarkable from it. I think our number one issue, we really had one issue, facilities. And that's
Sorry,
what we
Paul.
talked about to everybody about.
Facilities and funding them.
Yeah, and helping, because we understand the challenge, and under perfect circumstances, 60% is hard to achieve. Okay? When you have misinformation, it notches it down a little bit. And so, but we have to be committed and steadfast to make sure that the citizens in this community has an infrastructure that's reasonable, even.
Do we need an executive session tonight?
No executive session.
So I know we have a couple of prospective board members here, so now you can see how exciting this is. Yay. It's a lot of fun. Anything else? Do you have any other things you want to bring up?
I do have something I'd like to bring up. February 9th is Sky Valley Community Awards ceremony at the Startup Event Center. The Chamber of Commerce sorry, I'm still getting over being sick. The oversight and the community awards is all of the little groups and organizations out there recognize people within their groups, and this is the big collective potluck dinner where everybody comes together and recognizes people that volunteer and do amazing things in the valley. And the Sky Valley Citizen of the Year is selected from all of those applicants that each group put forward. I was fortunate enough to be the 2017 Sky Valley Volunteer of the Year, and it's quite an honor. They do press releases, newspaper interviews, and parades in doing the Grand Marshal Wave. It's quite an honor, and it's a potluck, and it's a lot of fun. If you're not involved, it's a good place to start and see just how many people are volunteers and involved in the Sky Valley. Also, this Saturday is the Senior Center, the VOA Senior Center, the A-Frame. Their pancake breakfast from 8 till 11, Dan, or noon?
8 till 11.
8 till 11. It's $5, and oh man, you get a lot of food for $5. I started volunteering at the Senior Center 6 months ago. Dan volunteers at the pancake breakfast as well. And so support, it's a fundraiser for the Senior Center, and you get a lot of food for $5. You can't beat it, so that's my 2 cents worth.
I think Dave is gone. Not gone, but, so, I think that's it, so.
Thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, motion accepted. We have no quorum at the
Hey,
moment
Jeff.
because he's not there, so.
Oh, he's there, he's just not there.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want us to see his blood draw.
Isaac, yeah, Jeff.